Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Paul Fox. I'm the British Ambassador here in Hungary, and I'm delighted to welcome you at our outreach event. Both those who are with us in person here in this room, and those who are following us on Facebook. I'm especially glad that I can finally meet at least some of you face to face following a couple of virtual events due to the COVID-19 restrictions. Today we are here to give you information about the actions you need to take to secure your rights in Hungary. Specifically, we want to brief you about the residency scheme Hungary has introduced for UK nationals who were living in Hungary before the 1st of January 2021. Registration to this new scheme is essential for all UK nationals who want to continue to live and work in Hungary in line with the withdrawal agreement agreed between the UK and the EU. And this is regardless of the status you already have in Hungary. I mean, you need to register into this scheme, even if you already have a residence document that was issued under the old EU rules. But first things first, let me introduce our guests at today's event. We have Police Major Laszlo Rubel, who is head of the Priority Clients Unit of the Budapest and Pest County Regional Directorate of the Hungarian Immigration Authority, called the National Directorate General for Aliens Policing. And also from London we have Andrew Tate, who is Head of Citizen Engagement at the Citizens' Rights and Mobility Unit of the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office. I'm really grateful to both of them for having accepted our invitation to this event. The aim is to do, as well as inform you, to do the best we can to answer any questions you may have and clarify any outstanding issues you may have about your residency rights in Hungary. Before we start, let me outline the structure of today's event. First, I will invite Police Major Laszlo Rubel to speak about the residency scheme available for UK nationals who lived in Hungary before the 1st of January 2021. Following this, we will open the floor for questions, and my Deputy Richard Shackleton, who is sitting in the front row, will help with the moderation. First, we will take questions from those in this room who are with us in person. And for the benefit of our panel participants and those who are watching us on Facebook, please make sure you wait for the microphone to arrive before you ask your question. In the second round, we will address questions received from our online audience. So those who are watching us online, please do send these in under the event's live stream. As I say, we will try our best to answer as many questions as we can, but it's possible we won't be able to cover everything. In this case, we'll make sure we'll get back to you with any outstanding issues later on. For information about your rights residing in Hungary, I'd like to encourage you to sign up to our Living in Hungary guide and follow our social media channels to have the most up-to-date information. I mean, all the information is there on the screen, but it's also available on our website, UK and Hungary. So please take advantage of all the information that is out there. We've also put together a step-by-step guide to help you through the application process for this new residency status. You can also find this at our Living in Hungary guide, which I just mentioned. Although this will not be the subject of today's discussion, for the latest COVID-19 related updates, I suggest you regularly check our travel advice page for Hungary. Finally, before I give the floor to Mr. Rubel, Let me thank both the Hungarian Immigration Authority and the Hungarian government for their continued cooperation in protecting the rights of UK nationals in Hungary. We will continue to work together with them to ensure you have all the information that you need. Thanks very much. Now let me give the floor to Police Major Laszlo Rubel.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you for coming to our town hall meeting. As His Excellency has already said, that I'm the head of the department of the VIP section, and the VIP section of the Immigration Office, and the VIP section deals with the applications of British nationals, or most of the British nationals. And as you probably already heard, that having withdrawn from the European Union, migration laws regulating the entries and stay in Hungary for British nationals have been amended. And unfortunately, the right of free movement has been lost. However, the Hungarian government has designed a transitional plan for British citizens, which provides, which facilitates a smooth transition from EU membership to third country citizenship. The registration certificate or permanent residence card that has been issued to you will cease to be valid at the end of this year. But due to the transitional period, due to the offer of transitional period of the Hungarian government, you have the possibility to convert these registration certificates to so-called national permanent residence permit. What is a national permanent residence permit? This is a status that is valid for an indefinite period of time. So somebody who wishes to live here for the rest of his life or for a very long time, it is very suitable. This permit is very suitable for him. The national permanent residence permit also it also offers a card for 5 years, which have to be replaced every 5 years. Have to be prolonged every 5 years, and it also comes with an ID card as well. The national permanent residence permit is used for traveling. So if you would like to travel to other EU member states, they're useful for you because you can show it at the border that you have a residency in Hungary. The Hungarian ID card allows you to get along in Hungary without your passport. You don't have to carry your passport with you. You always just keep the ID card with you. So those two things go with the national permanent residence permit. However, this concessional procedure that was designed to British citizens is only available between the 1st of January 2021 and the 31st of December 2021. So the concessional procedure is only available during this time. Beyond 2021, the 31st of December, the regular laws will be applied to British citizens. During the concessional period, what you have to prove is that you've been living here before. You have been living here before 2021, the 1st of January. So if you had a registration certificate or you had a permanent residence card, it's obvious that you've been living here. So all you have to do is to make a photocopy of your registration certificate, the permanent residence card. That's fine. Then you prove that you've been living here, and you have also the intention to continue to live here in Hungary. However, for those people who didn't register did not obtain a registration certificate or a permanent residence card in Hungary, the thing is slightly more complicated. They have to present, they have to prove that that they have been living here earlier than 2021, the 1st of January. How can you do that? How can you prove that? You may have a lease agreement, you may have a work contract here, or you may have a bank expenditure statement from your bank that you've been spending here. You went to the market, you bought something, so that shows up in your bank statement. Therefore, we can consider it as a proof that you've been living here before the specified date. The same things applies to third country family members of UK nationals. So anybody who has, for example, a Nigerian wife or children, the same concessional procedures apply to them as well. Why is it also beneficial to have a national permanent residence permit apart from the long-term stay? It also gives you a more convenient access to the labor market. This means that you don't need a work permit. If you want to change your workplace, you don't need a work permit. It's in Hungary, it may take several weeks to get a work permit during the residence permit application process. That thing you can skip. So with the national permanent residence permit, you can freely change your company. So it gives you a more advantage in Hungary in search of a job. How can you apply for national permanent residence permit? You have two options. One is that you show up at a client service office. I suggest you to get an appointment. You may come to my office. We are located at the 13th district at Szegedy 3537. It's the main building of our institution, or one of the main buildings of our institution. We are open from 2 o'clock till 4 o'clock. You can come in whatever you prefer, but also you have the possibility to have an appointment, and it's more convenient. The other thing, which is probably I prefer much more, and it's probably much more convenient to you as well, is through the internet. The enterhungary.gov.hu is renders possible to submit a complete application there with complementary documents, whatever you prefer. They are available there, and it's also important that the whole procedure is free of charge. If you mistakenly paid a fee, it's possible to get it reimbursed. You just have to make a claim. You have to come to the office and write a statement that mistakenly I paid and you want the reimbursement of the fee. One thing I would like to talk to, which is important that you ought to know, is that probably some of you may have encountered the interaction of the production of national permanent residence permit cards. It has been a recent phenomenon. For 2-3 months we ceased to produce it. The reason was that there should have been we had to modify a certain information on the card, and unfortunately this affected basically all the clients, all British clients who applied for national permanent residence permit. We sent out to everybody an information letter. The information letter says that you have to come in to deliver your biometric data, and the card that the national permanent residence permit will be reproduced and will be sent to your address that you specify to us. This is important because the cards that you have now, or you may have now, they are not. They're going to be revoked, and if it's possible, I ask you to return those cards. So those cards that were produced earlier than this year, September, unfortunately they have to be revoked. And well, thank you.
Well, thank you very much. It's given us a very clear idea of what we all need to do. So, let me now ask my deputy, Richard Shackleton, to start and lead on the Q&A session. As I said before, first we'll take questions from the floor here in the room, live in person, and then we'll select questions from our Facebook audience. Richard, over to you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. And just before we start to take questions, I'd like to remind you that we're on camera, we're being filmed. I think for the main part, we would like to receive, if you can keep specifics out of your questions so that we don't get into information sharing and things like that. So general questions would be most appreciated. If you've got a specific issue, if you've got a specific worry, then you can either ask us individually after the event, or you can go through the embassy website, the gov.uk website, and send in that information. That goes into the system, and individual queries can be answered in that way. So what we're looking for here is comments and questions of a sort of general nature that will be helpful to everyone. So thanking Laszlo, who's with us, and Andrew from the UK, I shall open the floor. So the first at the back, can you wait for your mic? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm asking a question about the cards that were issued before September and will be revoked. If one hasn't received a letter asking you to go to the office to change it for a valid one, should one just turn up at the office anyway, or are you sending out letters telling us that we have invalid cards and that we should go with that letter to an office? Thank you.
Thank you, and I think we can go straight to an answer.
Yes, sure. I would just, if you have time, probably after the session town meeting, can I just look at your card, please? Because we send for everybody, we send a letter, a notification. So if you didn't receive it, it could be a reason that the postman did not deliver it well. I'm going to look at it and help you. Yes, sure, if you have a national permanent residence permit issued before September, please come in for biometric data, because every single one has to be replaced.
I hope that's clear, but we'll look at it afterwards. Yes, please, down here.
Good evening. I have a so-called Alambil Tartaskodashi Egede. It's a green one. I got it back in November 2020. My question is, do I have to now submit this against a withdrawal agreement card?
Please.
Yes, and you have to replace it with national permanent residence permit, because that was the card that you showed me. If I saw it well, it was issued for EU citizens. Yes, I believe when you were an EU citizen, and that card will lose its validity at the end of this year. So it has to be replaced, and it's. I encourage you to come in to submit an application, or via the internet initiate an application So it's important because afterwards the regular procedure for national permit residence permit is quite harsh, quite difficult. And you have the time till the end of this year to have this concessional procedure in which you just have to prove that you've been living here, that's all. But in a regular procedure, you would have to, the files are investigated from many aspects. For example, financial means, bank reserves, accommodation, insurance, etc., etc. You have a stable work. So it's a much more complicated, and in addition to that, there is also it is also important that you have to prove that your settling to Hungary is in the interest of the Hungarian state, which is also complicated. So I encourage everybody to make use of this opportunity, and by the end of this year submit your application, because afterwards it will be much more complicated. And in addition to that, you may also lose the possibility to get a national permanent residence permit, and you may be constrained to a residence permit, which allows you to stay, which allows a stay of 2 years or maximum 3 years or something like that. And that's also a more complicated procedure than the concessional one currently. So that's why if somebody hasn't yet come to our office or submitted a national permanent residence permit application, then I urge everybody to do it now. Okay.
Thank you very much. I was going to echo that. The window is open until the end of this year, but I think everyone should be doing this. If you can do it, get it done quickly, and it's finished. If everybody waits until 10:20 on the 31st of December, there'll be a bit of a crush. So action now, and it sounds relatively easy. So please take heed, everybody online, everybody here, everybody that you know. We'd love you to spread that message as well. Don't wait until the end of December. Just get on and do it. Another question there.
Yes. Could you clarify who will have to go back to get give their biometric data again? Because I applied for a card in August, haven't received anything, not a letter, not a card. Will I have to go back again, or will I be sort of late enough that I won't need to do that?
Thanks.
No, you don't have to come back, because your card hasn't been produced yet, because you submitted in the period when we ceased to produce the cards. The cards that were issued, that we physically produced before September, so it's approximately we ceased in June, I think, or July, when we ceased producing the cards. And then those cards that were issued at the time, they will have to come back. But those who haven't received the cards at the time, surely it's no need to come back, and that's why you didn't receive any letter from us.
Hope that's reassuring. Another question? Yeah?
I've got a very simple question, and that is, how long would one expect to wait between going to the office and giving your details and actually getting the card back?
You mean the legal procedure, the length of the legal procedure? That's what you mean, or just the waiting in line?
Just the waiting time. I simply mean the time between going to the office, giving your details,
right,
having your biometric data taken,
oh, that's
and the time that. How long after that would you expect to receive the card? Because I hardly know anybody who's actually got a card yet.
We've just received the first cards now from the company which produces these cards. I believe in 2 weeks' time, probably 2 weeks' time, will be required to have in your pocket the residence permit. and I hope this includes the delivery. Well, the delivery depends on the post. If you come to our office, then it probably it's easier to get the card. But we're going to.
Are you suggesting that after 2 weeks, I should come to your office and get my cards?
Yes, because I'm not sure how much time it takes to deliver by mail the permits. Usually it takes, I believe, 3-4 days. But if you come to our office, of course, you can skip these 3-4 days. You can save it for yourself. But normally, our intention normally is to send by mail so that clients will not have to come back to our office all the time. We are already apologizing for everybody to come more than enough to our office, and we try to post it to you.
And here, on the front, yeah.
At what
With
point?
the mic, please.
At what point do you surrender your own card, having replaced your biometric data?
I didn't understand the question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, after you've gone in and had your biometric data taken again, at what point do you surrender your own card, because they're allowing you to keep that card when you leave the office?
I believe that it would be better if you keep it till you get the new one.
Okay.
Because you have to prove that your stay is listed here. If you're stopped by the police or you need it during your public administration or whatever affairs, I suppose it would be wiser to keep it as long as you don't have the new one.
So are you saying we physically got to send it back by post afterwards?
If you wish, you can deposit as well at the office. If you want, as you believe it's convenient for you. You know, you're planning for the 2 weeks ahead of you. If you believe that you don't need it, as British nationals, you have some rights here to stay for 90 days within a 180 days period. I would probably, if I were you, I would keep it with me until I can do one, just in case.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And on this side first, and then that side. Yeah.
Sorry.
Good evening. I have already applied for renewing my residence card, and I went to the main immigration office in District 13 in July to see what was going on, and there was a hiccup. Okay, I received excellent treatment there. They got me to fill in the form, which was online on the screen, but something had gone wrong in the process. But this is in July, so I was told it should arrive, the new card, before the end of September. When should I start worrying?
I can tell you that not many British nationals were refused so far, so I don't think you have to worry, just you have to be patient. Because when you came in July, the production was ceased. There was no production of cards, and that at the end of this month, normally you're supposed to get your cards. At the end of this month, you're supposed to get your cards. Okay. If you have a valid biometric data, that's important, because if you have a valid biometric data, I'm quite sure that in 2 weeks' time you will have it in your mailbox.
They took my biometric data there while I was there.
Yes, but because you went at the time when there was no production, your biometric data was not lost. It's inputted in the system, and that's why you are not called back to come in one more time to deliver the data. So there's no need to worry. Okay, but if you want, if somebody wants to view his own case, I can take your telephone number, and I'm going to view your case in person, and then I will call you back. Okay, so after the session.
Thank you. Another question here.
I have the national permit card. I got it about probably 2 or 3 months ago, And I was told that a few weeks ago that I got the letter a few weeks ago that I had to go back to immigration, which I did, and I've done the fingerprints, etc. I was also told that I could keep the card until the other one arrived. I asked if I could also use my present card, which is the new one, to apply, this is more for information, to apply for a Hungarian ID card. And I thought, not sure about that, but I did. I went to the local government office a week ago and I did all the process there, and they said, we'll let you know by SMS when the Hungarian ID card is available. They let me know in 4 days. I've now got my Hungarian ID card, but my question was more related to what people have already discussed, is that the you hang on to your present card, and then when the new one comes, I've heard 1 or 2 people have already said they've received it by registered mail. This is the new card. So I'm just wondering if that's going to be the case, if people can get it by registered mail, or would you automatically have to go to the office?
You don't have to come to the office because we're going to send by mail automatically. If somebody does not want would come to our office, then if he calls us or he informs us before the production, of course, we can do that. Or when he comes to deliver the biometric data and he says or she says that she wants to have it collected at the office, then it's possible. But normally we're going to send it out by mail. And you don't, since you have an ID card, a Hungarian ID card already, you could have deposited at our office your previous permanent residence permit if you don't want to travel, because settlement or national permanent residence permits that we issue, that you are sent from our office, is used to travel. Is useful for traveling, because the Hungarian ID card does not permit you to travel. It's only good in Hungary, because you don't have to carry your passport with you. But traveling in Belgium, whatever country, it's not possible. With the permanent residence permit, yes, it's possible. So my response is that it's going to be delivered by mail.
Thank you. I've got another question here, and then we'll come to the back. Yeah.
Is it on?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd just like confirmation that if you haven't yet applied for the replacement card, is it okay to travel outside Hungary with no issues coming back inside the country?
Well, the status is given to you. So the status is the card is just a proof that your status is illicit in Hungary. The thing is that it resembles to a normal. There's a few changes on the card, but it's a valid card till it's going to be revoked. Well, technically, it's a valid card.
And another question there, please.
Yeah, I received my residence card 2 days ago, so I applied at the end of July, so there is evidence that they are coming out now. I'd just like to ask, how long should I wait before going and applying for the ID card? Is there a minimum of time that I would need to wait, or could I go straight away?
Well, the procedure is the following. When you collect your settlement permit, your national permanent residence, excuse me, then we send a notification to the government office, the local government office. Probably I would wait a week. Having collected the card, I would probably wait a week approximately.
And another one? Yeah.
Yeah, can I answer that question, because I got my residency card and went to the government office, you actually they actually send you a second letter to say it's now okay to go into the government office to collect your ID card. Because although you've got your new residency card, the data hasn't transferred from one system to the other to go and collect your ID card. So they do send another letter to let you know the job's done.
Or you get an SMS
Or did you?
Technology. Better still. Okay. Further back, have you got any more questions? We've come right up front just now. Any more questions nearer the back? There's one from a man standing.
So if you've received residency other than through the EU scheme, so you've not applied as a member through the member state, but you've received permanent residency here in Hungary, do you still need to go through this process?
When did you it's before our membership that you received permanent, the national permanent residence permit? I suggest you, yes, to come in.
Sorry?
I suggest you to come in because normally you never prolong your national permanent residence permit.
Yes, I have current permanent residency.
But it hasn't
with
been
an ID
replaced to an EU.
No.
And where have you replaced? Where did you have this replacement?
Either this year or last year.
Last year, you talk about the ID card, or you talk about this?
The ID card.
Well, the ID card.
Semi-dozoldane.
Again, I understand that. I heard such stories that British citizens who possess third country national permanent residence permit that had been obtained before our membership, and the local government office automatically prolonged the ID cards, which was unfortunately not totally correct, or not correct at all. I suggest to come into. It's better to recognize the things.
But I hope, Martin, that you'll continue to hand the microphone round.
I will continue to hand the microphone, yeah.
Without giving away GDPR. Are there any other questions? Oh yes, jolly good.
I know we're struggling with the current replacement cards, but could you elaborate on what's going to happen in 5 years when we have to replace them?
Sure, it's going to be really a simple administrative procedure. So it's not going to investigate deep down in your situation in Hungary. Normally, clients provide their passport photocopy and the photocopy of their ID cards and national permanent residence card. Well, in regular processes, it has a 10,000 franc fee that could be paid by the internet or paid at the client service office, and in basically a month time. It's really a simple procedure, very simple. So there's no need to worry about it. Really, it's just it's just like a concessional procedure that we have now for British nationals. Or even more concessional.
That's reassuring. And one more question.
Hi there. Coming back into Hungary after January the 1st next year with a national permanent residence permit, does that mean our passports will be stamped at the border, or what's the situation?
That's not in our domain. The immigration office is not stamping anybody's passport apart from expulsions.
Let's hope not.
I've got another one at the back.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening. David Porritt, Principal at
Budapest British International School. An opportunity just to thank the embassy staff and the Hungarian authorities for this transitional period and the support you're giving us to bring in large numbers of British expatriates to come and work in the school for us, and I know other schools as well. It makes a big difference, and it's more of a comment with a question. Please can I encourage you, the embassy staff as well as the Hungarian authority colleagues, to continue supporting us in that. It makes a big difference to enable us to operate the education for young people, which contributes significantly, I think, to the growth of the Hungarian economy by providing education for many people from all over the world who come and want their children to have an international education. So thank you very much.
For our part, we will. I think there's another question here. Yeah, please.
I'm not sure if this is allowed. I have a question for the other side, actually, for the British side. So it's about the right to return to the UK with a Hungarian family, which there's been a lot of reports recently and problems for families trying to go back into the UK. Is there any progress on allowing spouses or children of British nationals who are not British into the UK in a kind of more straightforward way?
Well, thank you for trying to balance out the questions. We've got Andy over from London, so I'm hoping this is a question that I can hand on to you.
Yeah, thanks, Richard. Yes, if you have if you're a British national within scope of the withdrawal agreement, you can return to the UK with your non-British spouse up until, I think it's March 2022, without the need for applying for any particular visa, spouse visa, which you would normally do if they were third country national. After that date, there is a cut-off at the moment whereby you would need to apply through the normal immigration channels to take your spouse back. So the key date is 29th of March 2022, by which you need to return to the UK. If you like. Does that answer your question?
Kind of answers it, but it's not a very welcome answer, I would say. I think it was a decision as an EU citizen to have a partner who was an EU citizen, and the freedom of movement for the whole family has therefore been lost. I don't know, just the impact on children who risk, I think you can understand that. I think there's a lot of concession for, you know, for parents being able to stay with their children should there be the need to move country at some point. So it's not only my family that now would find it difficult to move back to the UK, but it would be an extremely difficult decision for me to go by myself without my family, or to have to go through that kind of very onerous process to be able to move back. I really feel that that's a loss of recognition of my own rights as a British citizen. I just want to make the point. I don't know what progress can be made or whether there can be any. I understand there are still some negotiations going on that, but maybe they're not. I don't know, but I understand that this is a point for many, many families.
Yeah, no, I can fully appreciate your concern, and it's a concern that has been raised before by others as well. And you're right, I mean, there are discussions about whether that date can be extended or amended or whatever. I'm telling you the regulations as they are now. That's not to say that they might not change in the future.
Yeah, just wanted to ask a question, the gentleman here. Just in relation to the 5 years, I just wanted to know what the ruling is, what you have to do. For instance, if just as a hypothetical in this sense, if I'm offered a position, a job in another country, or I have to leave the country for a year, maybe 2. Is there a limit on when your national permit cancels out? I mean, does it, because you've left the country, you've got to presumably let your authorities know, but what's the limit that you can leave the country before that happens?
Yes, there are limits, but the law also specifies certain certain occasions when even though you pass the limit, but it allows you to pass the limit. If you work, I'm not sure what sort of work you would do, but it could give an opportunity to that. But I think we're going to. It's better to discuss it face to face rather than openly, and try to figure out.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but it wasn't just necessarily for work, but so some personal reason. I had to go back to my home country. It's not actually the UK, it's also Australia where my family are. And I had to leave, and I was away for more than a year. I just wonder what my status would be in Hungary. I give an exception, I'd have to ask for an exception.
Such exceptions may include medical reasons, birth, conscription, and it's also it could be that it's justified, but you have to notify in advance. You have to notify the authorities that you would leave for a certain reason.
So like notifying the national aliens office?
Yeah, exactly. You have to come in. You write a statement that you leave because of certain reasons, family reasons, medical reasons, or whatever reasons. And yes, it's possible, but we have to know the real reason. Yes, exactly. There were occasions, but you also have to know that if you live for a long time, it could be a justification for refusal of the extension of the project.
So that's one to take up individually. And just to swap things around, I'm going to allow a follow-up question from Aggie, who's here at the front.
Thank you. No, I just coming back on that question. I just wanted to clarify, if you could clarify what is the maximum time you can be away from Hungary without having to notify the authorities. So is it 1 year, 6 months, or is there a maximum time limit?
I have to admit, I don't remember, but it's I believe in 3 years' time, 1 year, but I have to look it up. I'm sorry.
And that's something that we can put up on the Living In Guide and somewhere like that. Right at the back, please.
I wonder if you could elaborate on the rules and regulations for dual nationality. I've lived in Hungary now for more than 3.5 years, and I'm 76 later this month, and it is my intention to remain here. So if you could elaborate on the regulations.
It's nationalization or very precise.
Yeah, to obtain Hungarian citizenship, as in then having dual nationality.
Well, I'm not the expert on that because the immigration office does not deal with Hungarian citizenship, but I believe that it depends whether you have a spouse Hungarian, children Hungarian nationality. So and normally, as far as I remember, it was 8 years. Having obtained your address card, you have to wait 8 years for the nationality, and it requires also sort of knowledge of Hungarian and Hungarian language. But as I said, the immigration office does not deal with nationalization, and I cannot give you an official response for that.
And I think that's worth checking through on the website, and if there are further questions, either going through to that naturalisation office or asking a question directly from someone who can help.
Richard? Sorry, just from the UK side, I would just clarify that you can hold UK nationality and nationality of another country. There are some countries within Europe that don't allow that, but just from the UK side, I just want to clarify that you can hold a UK passport and a passport of another country.
Actually, more than one. Yeah, we're quite okay with things like that. So you don't in any way have to revoke your British citizenship at all when you take on another citizenship. That's how we are. Any further questions? One more here, and then I'll try and go to the internet.
Thank you. I'm going to ask a worst case scenario that you apply for residency before the 31st of December, but you do not get either a decision or your permanent resident permit before December the 31st. What happens to your temporary ID that we have now? Does that lapse, become invalid? Then what is your status in Hungary as a third country national?
British nationals have possibility by law to stay in Hungary for 90 days within a half a year time interval, and that comes into effect immediately once your residence your certificate, registration certificate of permanence and credit expired or becomes non-valid. It automatically comes into effect. So I'm quite sure that in a couple of weeks' time you would receive within this time you will receive the national permanent residence permit.
Thanks. And you know, without restating it, the sooner you do it, the better. Actually, in that sort of sense. But there's your answer for that worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Do we have any sort of questions from the internet? Do you want to ask?
Yes, thank you. So let's start with hopefully a bit of an easy one, so I will combine two. One of them is that can a Hungarian spouse go with the British national to the immigration office and arrange for this new permanent residency card? And the other one is do they have to also change the address cards, lakcímkártya?
Well, Hungarian citizen or anybody can accompany the British national to our office. There's no, I don't see why they wouldn't come or wouldn't be able to come. As for the address card, no, it should not necessarily be replaced.
And I should note that I know that people, even people here, who've actually helped other British citizens go to the office and help them through the process as well. So you can go and accompany somebody. It's not something you've got to do all by yourself and without any help at all. Bori, another question.
Thank you. So this was mentioned before, but just to clarify a bit more, border crossing and passport stamping. So a few people already have stamps in their passports, even though they shouldn't have. Do they have to worry about it? That's one of the questions. And the other one is whether there will be any consistency about this later on, that they will stop stamping.
Well, I can repeat myself only that the immigration office is not dealing with stamps in the passport or as I said, we only stamp passports when there's really a big problem with the expulsion. Otherwise, no, I don't see any problem with stamping. That's my view.
I will relieve the pressure on Major Rubble. I think Aggie's got an answer as well.
Yeah, so just quite recently we received a confirmation from the Ministry of Interior because we flagged these issues to them, and they very helpfully came back to say that they informed the border police who are responsible for border checks that these have happened in the past, and they confirmed to us that no one with a valid residency document should get a stamp in their passports if they have their residency documents with them, at the border, and if it does happen, then you are able just to ignore the stamp in your passport.
I think for people who are coming in newly into the country, those stamps will start to become important because it'll prove stay in the country and so on. But if you've already got your residence card, show it with your passport when you're coming in. Laurie.
So British nationals who have their permanent residency cards and are in receipt of a state pension, are they still entitled to access free transport, or is that due to be phased out?
I don't think that Major Robel can answer that one. Do we have an answer perhaps from the embassy pages?
Yeah, so I think hopefully I will reassure everyone that those rights will remain. So, but to keep those rights, again, you need to register into the new scheme, because your current cards will lose their validity at the end of this year. That means that you will no longer be able to take advantage of the free public transport. So again, I think today everything goes back to the main message that you should register, and then yes, with the new cards you can keep your right to free public transport above the age of 65.
One more question from the internet and then we'll go to another one here.
So sometimes people's passports expire, then they have to ask for a new one. When they receive the new one, and they already have the permanent residency cards, do they have to update the immigration office and ask for maybe a new card, or anything has to be updated with this?
No, it's not necessary.
Short and sweet, thank you. I have a question up here, please.
Yes, regarding this...
with Mike, please. Sorry.
Regarding the free public transport issue, at Kellerty anyway, they've been saying that you need to pay because of Britain and Brexit. Are they misinformed, and how do you politely inform them that they are wrong?
Yeah, so I believe they are wrong. So the way we can politely inform them is probably through the ministry responsible for issuing the ministry is covering the regulation and the laws. So I think what you can do is you can either kind of show on our living in guide there is some information about this as well. And you can find links to the relevant pages in the Hungarian system. So I think if the officer there at Keleti or anywhere else, if you are able to show it to the person there, then probably that's enough. But it's also useful for us if we know about these cases, because we can notify the ministry responsible for public transport so that they inform their own officials who issue these passes.
And we will of course do it politely. And one more, yeah.
Sorry, I just want to add to that. This isn't the transport, but it is the free entry for certain age groups into museums, etc. But the occasion was a national museum. The cashiers there said they're asking questions. This was some other museums I was told about too. Were saying, where are you from? Asked for where are you from, and they didn't accept the fact that you were had this agreement and that you didn't have to pay if you're over 65. I think it is. So. The best thing was just simply to go to the information desk, another area of the museum, and then sorted it out with the cashiers. But it's not just happening at the National Museum, it's happening at galleries, it's happening quite a few places, and in other parts of Hungary as well.
Right, anything else from the internet? She's back.
Yes, sorry, maybe one more. So those, a bit about, again, the residency card. So those who haven't received a letter from the immigration office, and they have the incorrect cards, until when they have the time to go into the immigration office and have their biometric data retaken.
we expect clients to turn up between the 30th of August till the 30th of October.
Okay, and I think that's the internet done. Does anybody have any wrap-up questions? Did you hear me say wrap-up there? I don't see any. Thank you. Oh, we've got another one.
Yeah, good question. I have just received a bank card over from the UK, which has been stopped at customs. And I said, well, there's no value, so there's no charge to this bank card. Oh, they said, no, it's a standard charge of 490 florint. What is going on here with this import or customs regulations now? Because officially, obviously, if the item's no value, there's no tax upon it. This is Hungarian Post.
Thank you.
I'm afraid I just can't answer that, but we will take that away and we will follow up.
Well done, you've stumped us on the last point. I do have another question at the back.
This relates to the internet question about the wrong issue of the ID card. How do I know that my ID card is the right one if I don't get a letter from the authorities?
Your ID card or the national permanent residence card is the question, because the ID card has nothing really to do with us, with the immigration office. The national permanent residence card, if you don't receive a letter by mistake, by our mistake, then you should come in and have it replaced. It should be so those cards that were issued earlier than September, they necessarily be wrong. So those are not the correct cards. ID cards, since the immigration office does not issue ID cards, and the replacement of the national permanent residence permit does not affect ID cards. So if you could clarify the question, is it the ID card that you talked about, or the residence permit that you talk about?
Well, I've got both, but how do I know if I've got the wrong one, if I'm not notified by the authorities?
Then it's our mistake, then it should be wrong if it was issued before September.
Mine and my wife's were issued both before September.
Then in this case, they have to be replaced. If you wish, we can consult after the meeting.
Yes, please.
And then I'm going to look at your card, and then I'm going to decide whether it's worthwhile to come in or not. The ID card is going to remain.
Thank you. That was actually a good answer to a good question. We'd been stumped just then. So I'm glad that we've been able to finish on an answered question. So in the meantime, thank you to you, and thank you to everybody online for taking the time and engaging with us on these questions. We want it to work smoothly, as smoothly as it can, and we hope that by offering these opportunities to answer your questions and to allay some of your concerns, that we're making things that little bit easier. But for now, I'd like to thank very much Police Major Laszlo Rowell, who's really done the major part of the questions, and my colleague Andrew Tate from the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office, and Aggie from the Embassy. And on that note, I'll pass back to the Ambassador.
Well, I'll be short. I mean, Richard's covered it all. Thank you so much for taking part. Thank you for asking so many questions.
I know how, I can imagine how unsettling this can be. All I can say is that we at the Embassy will try and offer as much help as we can. We'll try and provide all the support we can, and we will continue to work with the Hungarian authorities to ensure that this goes as smoothly as possible. But I realise it's unsettling, particularly the question about the position of spouses and children. Going back to the UK, that's something, I think that is really quite a significant point you make there, and I do have a great deal of sympathy for what you're saying. As Andrew said, discussions continue. Let's see what comes out of that, but you make a very good human point, I would say. There's a lot to absorb, I know that, but if there is one thing which I would urge you to take away from this meeting, both for those in the room and for those watching online, is please take action and register for residency now. Just to reiterate a basic point, all of you, all UK nationals who are legally resident in the UK before the 1st of January this year, must apply for the new Hungarian National Permanent Residency Permit. And by doing so, you'll secure your rights under the withdrawal agreement. I hear what's being said about cards that were issued in error which now need to be replaced, and I can understand that you're not quite sure what position you're in if you haven't received the letter. From what I understand from what you said, Laszlo, just to be absolutely clear, any card that was issued before September is basically a wrong card.
Yes, exactly.
So if you received your card before September, go to the authorities and renew it, basically, get a new one. From what I understood from what you said is that the card you have, while you're waiting for the replacement, remains valid. And when you get your new card, I'm assuming that you just destroy the old card, or do you want that old card handed into you?
Yeah, sure, it's better that we handle the cards rather than the client, because if it throws it out, somebody may illicitly use it.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that point so you can understand some of your concerns on that. So, if you want to stay in Hungary beyond the 1st of December this year, apply for a new permit. And, for more information, please sign up to our Living in Hungary guide. We're also making a recording of today's event, so it'll be available to those who haven't been able to take part or watch it online. So, please let your friends know that this meeting does exist and has been recorded. Finally, in addition to that, please share information, not just with your friends and your family, but with those who might have difficulty in accessing the website. They may not be able to play with computers, they may not even have a computer. If you know of people, Brits, in that position, please help them. My consular team at the Embassy is working with schools and churches and local communities and businesses to ensure we reach as many people as we can, but any additional effort, it will be very, very welcome. And thank you for your attention, and I hope you found the event useful, and I look forward to seeing you again at similar events in the future. But please, if you do have any questions, just ask us and we'll try to answer them. If we don't know the answer straight away, we'll try and find the answer after the degree of investigation. Thank you very much indeed.